Okay, welcome everybody. Good morning. We're on the Dafid Beis Amud Aleph, 2 lines from the bottom, and we're middle of a sugya that started on Yud Aleph Amud Beis, and it was Rami Barchama who is this okay? Is it in the way? It's good. So the issue was somebody said, well, he didn't say those words. The Gemara said because then he said that you have to be not this another whenever he says something is us, the way nether works. Even though we don't think of it, say I make a nether. That's not really the way it works. You always be saying it's usher like something. This loaf of bread is going to be usher like a korban, like a konam, like a konach, like a konas. That's what you're really doing.
If now,
so the way we make it nether is I'm going to nether.
How do we do it? I promise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that would only be bar
promise
mitzvah. Bar
I'm gonna call my
mitzvah.
mother.
So
But that'd be bar mitzvah.
bar mitzvah means that even if you don't say the word nether, you just say I'm going to do Eshna Perek Zeh, I'm going to learn. So maybe that is then of Nedarim mitzvah. Maybe that's automatically.
You say so. He's going to do someone a favor. I'm going to help you with
Well,
something.
Mitzvah.
I make a nether that I'm not going to talk to you again. It's not a nether anyway.
It could be that's called yodos. Like it says Mudrani Mimcha, I make a nether. Mudrani means I am Nador, you are Nador. Maybe if I make a nether, maybe it's because of yodos that we understand you mean to say it's like a korban. But also we're going to talk about more details. If you what was the case you said, I make a nether that.
I'm not going to talk to you again.
Oh, so that's going to be Mamash Sugya today. If you say I'm not going to talk, so it wasn't Chalan or something. It has to be Chalan or something. If you say my mouth is not going to talk to you, so then the Gemara is going to say that the mouth is. But if you say that I'm not going to, the speech is not a. So that's details. You have to know how to make a nether that I should take effect. But anyway, the Gemara's question was: you said on a piece of meat that's a zivchei shlamim. You said that the loaf of bread should be like the shlamim. Do you mean to say the shlamim right now? Right now it's mutter to eat because it's already after this rika, and it's mutter to eat. It's only before this rika that you're not allowed to eat it. So that was the question. Something which was essentially also, but now became mutter. And you said this is like this. Do you mean to say on this present state, which means you didn't say anything then? Or did you mean to say what it essentially was? It was asa before this rika, so then it'll be asa. That was Rami Barchama's question. The Gemara so far tried to bring two proofs that they didn't work so far. One proof was the case where he said the notion people of our Mishnah, and that the Gemara rejected. It could be talking about a korban olah. That was mutter. The Gemara tried another one about the yard side thing that somebody said on the day of the death of his father. He said that the day I'm not going to eat, and then he answered it, and then he wants to answer another day like the yard side. And the Gemara thought that the yard side became mutter because in the cycle of the days or the weeks or the month, whatever it might be, so it became mutter again. The Gemara said no, that the case was that he answered it every time. So far, the Gemara didn't find the proof to the answer to the question. So we're back to the question still. If someone says something is aser, that this loaf is going to be like the zivchei shlamim, it doesn't mean before the zrika or after the zrika. Right now it's after the zrika, but since it essentially was aser, let's get the Gemara's terminology in the bottom of Yud Aleph, just to get the terms. That would be nice to highlight. The ikro kamatvis or betera kamatvis. That's the way to question. That was the question over here. The ikro kamatvis or betera kamatvis. When I said that this should be like that, do I mean to say what it essentially is, which means that it's essentially asa because it was a korban shlamim before the zrika, or right now it's already mutter. So did I just say that it's like that, which is mutter, and you didn't say anything? That's the most question, and we're on to look at. So at the bottom of Yud Beis Amud Aleph, and we have Ravina, Amar Ravina, Tashma. That's the Mishnah coming up at the beginning of the second parak. It says that if somebody was matpes in the challah, he said this should be like challah, or this should be like truma of Aaron. Aaron is just an example of a kohen. That's what they said. That is just an example of a kohen, and they point out that it's interesting because at the time Aaron never got any challah because the whole din of challah is only in Israel. So to call it challah Aaron because he's a kohen and he was a kohen and never got challah, it's just a bit interesting. Maybe, but that it means challah. That he say this should be also like challah, or this should be also like truma. Truma also means truma saron. So it's mutter, and that's the Mishnah. The Gemara is going to be medayik in that Mishnah that it just says that challah and truma is mutter, but the dig is going to be okay. Truma slach me toda asa. We'll get to it in a minute. But I've listened. Told me such a beautiful story yesterday. I'd like to share it with everybody. Living in Israel. When was it? Wednesday night, 2:00 in the morning. Achiloni stops from listening and says Maze chalat Aharon. That's what's bothering the Chilonim 2:00 in the morning. What is Talat Aaron? So I don't know if he's learned the film. I don't know what it was. He did. That was what. But amazing. Everybody that heard, I think everybody from Kusla hears just a story that a Chiloni 2:00 in the morning in Yerushalayim asks, "What is Talat Aaron?" I'm amazed. Okay, there's no chilonim anymore. That's it. So,
Very good.
so the Mishnah says that if somebody says, "I'm making this loaf of bread like chalas aron, I'm making it like truma," so it's mutter. It doesn't say why it's mutter. Not so clear. We'll take a shot that somebody we showed him say because challah is mutter. It's not mutter to everybody, but it's mutter. It's mutter to Kohen. Kohen's allowed to eat challah. A Kohen's allowed to eat truma. So that's why it's not. Doesn't take effect. Your bread doesn't become asa because he said that it's going to be something which is permissible. It's true. It's asa for a zar, but it is mutter for a kohen. So that's the way we'll learn that the reason why if someone says it's like challah or like truma, it's mutter is because challah and truma are mutter for a kohen. But the more wants to be medai, how can truma slach mitoda asa? If he says that it should be like a different kind of a truma, it just says truma so. Truma so means truma saron. Regular truma, what we call truma. But it's another kind of a truma. That's called truma slach mitoda. What's truma slach mitoda? When a person brings a korban toda, that's an animal. He also brings 40 breads. 30 of them are matzah, 10 of them are chametz. And from each group of breads, there are 4 kinds of breads. There's chalos, rekikin, revucha, I forgot, chametz. So there are 4 kinds of breads. Each one has 10. From each one of them, he gives 1 out of 10. He gives to the kohen. That's called truma slach mitoda. Slach mitoda means the toda breads, and truma slach mitoda means the truma that you give. That's a 1 out of 10 you give to the kohen. And it's mashma that if you would say that I'm making this loaf of bread, whatever, this cup of water, like truma slach mitoda, it would be asad. Why? What's the difference between truma and truma slach mitoda? The Gemara understands because truma slach mitoda at one point in history was asad to everybody, even to the kohen, because like the Gemara continues, that you have to have zrikas adam. You turn on the base. But truma slach mitoda, lach is zrikas damami. The Gemara's issue is that I can understand why truma slach mitoda would be worse than regular truma, because regular truma, from when it became truma, it was always mutter to a kohen. It never was asad. That's why it's not called the davar another. It's not something which is asad. But truma slach mitoda, once upon a time it was asad. When? Before it was truma slach mitoda. When it was lach mitoda. The lach mitoda themselves. You have breads. What do you have? You have an animal that's going to be a korban toda. You have breads that are going to become the lach mitoda, and the breads of the lach mitoda don't become mutter until after the zrika. You do the shchita and the zrika, so then the bread becomes mutter. The shchita makes them the asa, then the zrika makes them mutter. So they do become mutter only after the zrika. And the Gemara thinks the reason why truma lach mitoda would be worse than regular truma means how worse means. Worse means that it becomes asa. If you made a neder that this loaf of bread, whatever this big cup of water is going to be like truma slach mitoda, it's asa. Why is it asa? Why is it tofes? Why is it seize-on? Because truma slach mitoda, once upon a time, were asa to everybody. When? Before the zrikas adam. If that's so you have a raya to Rabbi Abraham's question. We wanted to know if he's tofes, matvis beikar. How does it go? Here it is. Beikar kol matvis or beter kol matvis. We're being a right. Beikar kol matvis. That even though right now it's mutter because it's already after the zrika, because when the time you have lach mitoda, usually that's the more going to go into this. Usually when you have truma lach mitoda, when you take it to truma, when you take off the 1 out of 10 breads and give it to the kohen. Usually after you ready to do the zrika, you're ready to eat it now. Now you give 1 to the kohen. That's the usual way to do it. So if so, how come it's asa? It's already mutter. Now you let him. The kohen's let him eat. It must be because bikra kamatvis that once upon a time it was asa before the zrika. That's the Gemara. No, to the zar, it's mutter to the kohen. It goes to the kohen, and the Gemara is going now that to the kohen is okay. If it's mutter to the kohen, it's mutter. Like truma, challah, it's mutter to the kohen, also to the zar, and that's called that it's not matfish. It can't be matfish, like it says. Mutter. Why is it mutter? Because it's mutter to the kohen. You can't when you say this. That's a chiddush. It isn't so simple, but that's how some Rishonim learn that challah and truma. The reason why you can't be matfish and challah and truma is because challah and truma are mutter to the kohen. It's also to the zar. Mutter to the kohen, so it's mutter, and so too. Truma slach mitoda is also mutter to the kohen, but once upon a time it was also to the kohen. That's what the Gemara thinks, and that's the reason why it'll be also. But if that's true, if that's a true shot, so you have a raya to Rabbi Abraham's question that you go with ikra komatvis, that you go according to what it once upon a time was, even though right now it's mutter because it's after the zrika. But the Gemara says two to get out of this raya. First, one teretz says don't say the diak when it says truma. What does it say? Palas Aaron or trumasa is mutter, and the diak was there's another truma that's asa. So we thought to say that truma slach mitoda. The Gemara says no. I'll say truma slach mitoda is also mutter because right now it's mutter. Truma slach mitoda is after the zrika, so it's also mutter. So you go according to now. You don't go according to what it was essentially. So what does the brisa mean to say? What's the diak of the Mishnah say that truma? How truma so like truma saman? How about some other truma which is aser, it means trumas halishka. What's trumas halishka? So we know everyone gave them machzah shekel. They brought it into the lishka, and how did they make that? They donated it. Raise machzah shekel. He donated it to the Beis Hamikdash, and then for them to take the trumas halishka, they take a box of coins, 3 boxes of coins, and make that for the kabbanis. And that's us. You know why that's usher? Because it's usher even from its inception. It's usher. It was usher also when it was in the lishka. As soon as the person donated it, it's usher, and it's still usher. So there's never was time that it was mutter. But if it will be something which is presently mutter, so then it would not be chal because you go according to now. But it must bother a little bit. About tumas lach mitoda my mutter, according to your pshat, that the Mishnah only means to imply that Trumas Alishka is aser, but Trumas Lach Mitoda will also be mutter. So why doesn't it say that? It only says Trumas So, Chala Sara and Trumas So, which sounds like regular Chala, regular Truma, but this Trumas Lach Mitoda doesn't say. Listening Lach Mitoda, but Kolchkein Trumas So. Why doesn't it say the bigger Chiddush? That even Lach Mitoda, which once upon a time was aser, is also mutter. They say Truma always was mutter to the Kohen, so that's not such a Chiddush. The Gemara says, how come they take out these words, how come Mashmalan? We can take it out. I think the mean that the Rosh doesn't have it. How do we do this here? Take out Hakamash Malan. Let's take that out. And the answer is Trumas Lach Metoda, Trumasahi. That the Mishnah does say it. We thought that the Mishnah Trumaso, Alas Aaron, Trumaso, we thought that it means regular Truma only, and that's what we were asking. How come it doesn't say Lach Metoda? That's the big Chiddush. So the Gemara says, no, that's what it means. When it says Trumaso, it also includes Trumas Lach Metoda. That's all the same. It's also called Trumas Aaron. Not only what we call regular Trumas Dagon, even Trumas Lach Metoda is also called Trumasa. So that's the answer. So far, what do we say? That maybe the Gemara was trying to push to prove that you go make Korah, that's something which was once upon a time Asa, even though now it's mutter, he meant to Asa according to what it was essentially. And the Gemara is Matcha, no, it could be that it goes according to what it is now. And Trumas Lach Metoda also would be mutter, because right now it's mutter, right now it's after the Zrika. That was teres number 1. Teres number 2, Iboy Sema, Chumas Lach Metoda Nami Kodem Zrikas Domimhu. That you thought that the Chumas Lach Metoda was after, let me just fix up this thing. Was after the Zrika. Why do we think that? Because why do we think so? Because that's what usually you do. Usually, you have the breads and you have the korban, you just shech the korban, you do the Zrika. And first of all, you bake the breads. Usually, you bake the breads, and then you do the shchita, the zrika, and then you give one of each 10 to the kohen. That's the regular process. So the one thought that if you have Trumas Lach Metoda, that's after the zrika, and then it has to do with our question that once upon a time it was aser, now it's mutter. Which one did you mean to associate it with? The Gemara says no. Who told you? Trumas Lach Metoda is not always after the zrika. I'll tell you the case that the diak that the Mishnah says that Chalas Aaron Uchumasa was mutter, and the diak was Trumas Lach Metoda is aser, is only in a case where you did the Trumas Lach Metoda before the Zrika. If there was already the Zrika, then it's taka going to be mutter because he meant what it presently is, not what it once upon a time was. And the Gemara is going to go at length, mamish, like 15 lines to explain that there is a possibility to give the Trumas Lach Metoda to the Kohen before the Zrika. And that's the case that it's going to be aser if you say that.
And that's going to be us.
That's going to be it. It never was mutter. It's before the Zrika. Our only question was, if it was after the Zrika now, does it mean to say that it's like Trumas Lach Metoda presently, which is mutter, is after the Zrika, or what it was essentially before? But if you say that it's talking about before the Zrika, so then there's no question. Trumas Lach Metoda before the Zrika has nothing to do with the Trumas Lach Metoda, it has to do with the Lach Metoda. Lach Metoda before the Zrika is also to everybody. So that's the reason that the Neder will take effect, because he was matfisted in a thing which is awesome. And the more goes mamish on a side point now to explain that it's possible to give the Kohen the Trumas Lach Metoda even before the Zrika. Keep going. The Afrashin of Belisha, that you separated the Truma of the Lach Metoda, which means 1 out of every 10 breads, in the Lisha stage. Before it was baked even, which the Gemara didn't need that. All the Gemara needed is before the Zrika's Daman. The Gemara didn't have to be so extreme. But the Gemara does seem to say, even in the before,
and it was given to the Kohen.
It was given to the Kohen
as a dough.
As a dough. Maybe you have to bake it before you give it to him. You could bake it before you give it to him, but the point is that it wasn't after the Zrika. All the Gemara really wants to say is that you can give it to him before the Zrika. Really, the Gemara could be simple. You gave it to him before the Zrika, but the Gemara is going to be a bit. It seems it's going to. Belisha means in the dough stage,
like what women do today when they take challah. They don't bake a challah. Most people,
right. You're supposed to lachatchila take challah. That's not this challah. Right. That's right. This is not that. This is talking about Trumas Lach Metoda, a different kind of challah.
A different kind of. Okay.
Give a different kind of.
But we're saying while it's a dough, what they're going to say, this is going to be for the Kohen.
And he's
didn't
gonna,
bake
the Gemara's gonna explain
Oh,
to prove that it's possible to do that. It could be that he does bake it, but he separated
he
it
separated before.
before it
Is
was
this,
baked,
he
before it was baked.
separated, this is for the Cohen.
Right,
When I bake it, this is the one for the Cohen.
right.
Okay.
And that's called truma, and it could be,
Which is
and
what.
that's called trumas, and it's called trumas
Still
lachmito.
day, right?
Right.
Okay.
And it's called trumas lachmito. And the Gemara goes at length to explain, to prove that it's possible to do that. Rav Tovi bar Kisna Shmuel. This Rav Tovi bar Kisna said in the name of Shmuel. Lachmitoda sha'afan ba'arba chalos yatsa. That's all he said. We're going to take this one statement of Shmuel that said that if you bake lachmitoda as 4 breads, it's good. Yotze, it could be yotze. Really, you're supposed to have 40 breads. You're supposed to take the 4 types of dough. There are 4 types of dough. Chalos, Rikikin, Revucha, and then Chametz. There are 4 types of Toda breads, and you're supposed to really do 10 of each. You divide them into 10, and you have 40 breads altogether. 30 of matzah, 10 of Chametz, and you give 1 out of each type to the Kohen. That's the regular way to do it. He says it's possible if somebody be the Ebed, if he didn't do it the right way, he only baked 4 breads, also it's good enough. And we're going to take this statement and we're going to analyze it till we come out to a proof that it's possible to be mafresh the trumas lachmitoda in the dough stage. There must
4 breads, in other words, the 4, one of each type.
One of each type. You can't put them all together. You can't make one.
One
mixture.
of each type, and these 4 are going to be the ones for the Kohen.
No, this is the whole thing. This is the
This is the
total
whole thing.
You have to
Oh,
give.
they didn't divide it into 10, or they
It seems they didn't divide it into 10. He says here, you
was
you
enough
bake. The
flour.
words. Let's just get the statement here. The statement. Lachmei toda shafan ba'ar b'chalos yatsa. Those are the words of Shmuel. Shmuel said
Like they made 4 big houses instead of
40.
40.
That's what it seems to say.
Uh-huh.
The most kasha book. It says you should make 40.
Uh-huh.
The answer is la mitzvah. That's not a mitzvah to do, but you still could be yotze even if you only did 4. The most kasha about boiler mishkal truma. You have to give truma to the Kohen. How are you going to bake 4 breads and give truma to the Kohen? How are you going to do that? Maybe of the 4, you give one of the 4. You give him a whole big bread, 10 times bigger than he should have gotten. What?
A fourth of the
Yeah,
whole.
we give him a quarter instead of a 10th. Or 10th of each one, right? But no, echad, we call korban. It says the pasuk you should give to the Kohen 1 of each korban, which means each type. You can't take, let's say there's chametz, and then there's chalos, rikikin, and revucha 4 times. So you can't take 1 and give him for the other type also. You have to give him a 10th of each type. So you can't give him 1 out of the 4 breads, 1 of the 4 types, and a big bread, a big revucha, and say this covers the challah for all the chumas challah mitoda for all the
Because
you have to give him each type.
because the pasuk says Akol mikol
Echad mikol korban.
korban.
Right. Shaloito mikol al chaver. You shouldn't take from one type to the other type. So what are you going to say? You break off a piece. Maybe you mean that from the 4 big breads, you're going to cut off a piece, a 10th, and give it to the Kohen. No, it has to be a shalom. But the word echad says in the Torah, shaloito prusa. You're not allowed to give a piece. You have to give him a chashav shalom. So it must be.
Echad means a whole thing.
Yeah, a whole. It's a drush. It doesn't mean.
Okay, and that's the end of that verse of that Mishnah. Up to Ella.
We're going like each thing alone.
Oh, each one is
Echad, we call korban that you can't give 1 pound another one. Echad, you can't give a prusa. Ella must be that for shinu belisha. It must be that you separated the truma for the Kohen in the kneading stage. So when he said that you could bake the 4 types just to make 4 breads, that means, of course, that in those stage you separated a 10th for the Kohen from each type. The shakal chadam mechames for chadam min chalos for chadam min rikikim for chadam min revucha. You took a piece of the dough from the chametz breads, a piece of the dough from the chalos breads, a piece of the dough from the rikikim breads, and a piece of the dough from the revucha breads. So what do you see? That it's possible from the state fact that Shmuel said that it's possible to bake the chalos toda, lachmi toda 4 breads. You see that you're allowed to take the trumas lachmi toda even in the dough stage.
The doughs are different, right? Because one has a lot of oil.
That's revucha. There are 4 kinds of bread. So what the Gemara said here.
So
The
each
Gemara
dough
said
is
4.
different. It's not like,
Right.
like a big dough that then divide.
No, there's 4 big doughs. Right. And then you're taking a piece from each of the 4 doughs.
The doughs are different.
That's what it says here. Listen, chametz, chalos, rikikim, revucha.
Well, okay.
You have that? Chametz, Chalos.
Yeah, okay, I don't know the difference in the dough.
Okay, that's true.
I
Okay,
mean,
that,
chametz, all it means is that it was longer.
right, and it was made into chametz. And the other
So,
kind,
so
had to
a
do with how
chametz
much-
and one that's a chametz, one that's a challah, could look like the same dough. At the beginning.
which looks like which? The chametz, when it's a dough, you make the chametz, you let it rise, it rises.
Mhm.
It becomes, I don't really make difference about how it looks, but they're different. The chalos is going to be with more oil. The revuch has the most oil, and chalos from kicking up less oil, but chalos is going to be more.
What's revucha?
Revuch is with a lot of oil. There's much more oil. And
Okay.
chalos we have the same amount of oil, but this is like more in a deep pan, and this is in a flat. So different types,
Oh,
different
how-
types,
okay.
different types. Okay, so the is happy. Why the more will do it all that? That was all a side point just to prove. If we want, we can put it in a side point just to say that. 1 second. What did I
You can
do there?
separate when
That is possible of Shina Belisha. This was all the proof to say that you could separate it Belisha, you go there for Shina Belisha, and the rest of it is a side point to say to prove that it's possible to do that. Okay, so the Gemara is happy. Why is happy mean? We rejected the proof. The Gemara, Ravina thought he had a proof from the fact that it says that we thought to say that Trumas Lach Mitod is Aser means if you were matfis and Trumas Lach Mitod it takes effect, even though Trumas Lach Mitod is usually after the Zrika. It must be because you say that the Ikara Katafis, that once upon a time it was Aser before the Zrika. The Gemara is two dichuyim. Either it doesn't say that at all. Trumas Lach Mitod is Taka Aser, even though there was a time that it's mutter now. Once upon a time was Aser. And don't make the deep that it says Trumas Salach Mitod is Aser. No, Trumas Salishka is Aser. Trumas Salach Mitod is Taka Mutter. And the second diak is Trumas Salach Mitod will be Aser in the case where it's before the Zrika. Is it possible to have Trumas Salach Mitod before the Zrika? Yes, it's possible. You could do it. That's the zooming out of the Gemara. And now the Gemara goes on to say another proof. It's told only about a question. If a person said about Rami Bechama's question, if a person said about a loaf of bread or whatever, a cup of water, that it should be aser like besides if Shlamim, which already is after the Zrika, does it make it aser or not? After the Zrika, the Basar Shlamim was mutter. Once upon a time, it was before the Zrika. So what does it mean? Meikor katafis or behetera katafis. So hold on my question. We tried already 3 proofs that didn't work. Here goes the 4th one. Lema katanai. The more things that it depends. It's dependent on the machlokes tanam. The more things that it found machlokes tanam about this point. What does it say? Harei alai ki b'chor. Somebody says, I want to make a neder. There should be also like a b'chor. This piece of bread should be also like a b'chor. Rabbi Yaakov both of you the matter. Machlokes if it's aser or not. So the more is trying to figure out what could they be arguing about. A b'chor is a korban. So why should it be? What's the question? What's the question? And the Gemara right away says, of course, there's Zrika's damin on the b'chor. A b'chor nechal kohanim, but you have to do Zrika before the Zrika. No one's allowed to eat it. After the Zrika, you are allowed to eat it. Hechidam. I name of Zrika's damin. My time of the man the shari. Yilachas Zrika's damin. My time of the man the asa. If he specified that this bread should be like a b'chor before the Zrika's damin, so for sure it should be asa. Because the b'chor before the Zrika's damim is asa, no one's allowed to eat it. So he said the bread should be like that. So for sure it should be asa. If he said it should be like a b'chor after the Zrika's damim, then for sure it should be mutter because the b'chor after the Zrika's mutter to the kohanim. So that should be enough. That it should be mutter. There's no question. Elulav, the machlokas must be our case. Top of the page.
Is this on a rice or something?
The brisa, or is this? I don't know if it's a brisa or Mishnah, but we have to look on. It says on the side that it's in Nazir Davdalid. But the words are just this. The words are just this part. The words are
Their opinions.
right. That's the end of it.
Just
That's the
their-
end of it.
Uh-huh.
I real like it before. Rabbi Yaakov both said them out there. What in the world could be arguing about? If it's beferish, then it's before the Zrika, for sure it's aser. If it's after the Zrika, then for sure it's mutter. It must be the Malchokas is our case. El Olav, it must be top of the page. The Machas Basa Bechor, or Machas Basa Dehech Gabei. That he has meat. This is what I'm saying. Case said before about that he has a piece. That has the meat. He has the bechor meat. Of course, if it's meat, machis means it's munach. It's
Put him
Put
in
it
front,
down.
place
it's
in
down.
front.
Yeah.
Placed in front of him. The meat of the bechor. It means already it's after the zrika. It's already shechted after the zrika. Everything, and now it's on the table. Which was the halacha that it's mutter for a kohen to eat, and he has other meat or bread, whatever it is, and he says machis basar dehech gabei, and this meat, other meat. Hech over here means of this one. And he has this other meat. Or it could be anything. It could be a cup of water, whatever
Like
it
we
is.
had before.
Right, mamish,
Yeah,
right.
I see. Okay.
Kabei next to it. And he says, Zekazeh, that this meat should be like that meat. And what does it mean? It's a mutter rasa. So right now, it's a bechor meat after the zrika. But once upon a time, it was before the zrika. So that's the machlokis. Utanoi, that must be that the argument. One says a mutter, one says it's asa. what's the one? What's the svara? The one who says it's also because essentially, this was once upon a time Masa, and the one who says mutter because right now it's mutter because after the speaker it must be. The one who says no, it must not. It doesn't have to be. No, not necessarily. It's not the machlokes. The kuli yamal of speakers damen. It could be before the speaker, so for sure it should be yasser. My time at the mandashari. Amakra ki yidor. So the Gemara is going into the basics that we already know, or we heard about already, and the Gemara is taking it like from the start. It's really like a lead up. We said a couple of times that when you have to make a nether, it has to be making a nether in something which a person verbally made usher, not that it's usher on its own, which we're going to have later on. Which is nice. If you say this is like chazir, it doesn't work because chazir, it wasn't because of your words. Chazir is usher as soon as it's born, as soon as its existence is usher. So the Gemara goes into this issue that you have to make the isser by with your words. That davar another it's called. There's a davar another. Again, it's good to highlight the words over here. One is going to be called davar another, and one is called davar ha'asur. Davar another and davar ha'asur. So the Gemara looks at a bechor is that it doesn't have to do with your words. That's the issue. The Gemara thinks that a bechor is a davar aser because you didn't make it a bechor. How did it become a bechor? It was born a bechor. A bechor means the firstborn male. So the animal which is the firstborn male, so that's a aser, and it's aser inherently. It's not aser because you said that it's a bechor. You don't say I raise a bechor. You don't say I raise a bechor. It's a bechor if you like it or not. It's the firstborn male. So the one that's the machlokes, that the one who says that it's mutter amar kua ki yido. The more is a drash from this pasuk to say that it's only us if you made a nether and something which you created. And afuke bechor, the davar aser, but a bechor is not in that category because it's aser not because of your words. It's aser because it was born a bechor. Amanda aser amakra la Hashem the rabbis davar aser. He thinks the Gemara at this point says that one madama doesn't know that you have to have a davar another. Even a davar aser is also even a bechor was not created by your words. It's created by very being born, the fact that it's born, a bechor, made it a bechor, not because of your words, but the fact that it doesn't say ki either, it just says la Hashem, anything which is la Hashem, anything which is aser, is also inherently, not because you made it aser, is also enough to make a nether. The Gemara starts off with like the basics, that is as if they're arguing in the basic halacha, could you be matvis, could you seize on the piece of bread that you want to aser, could you seize it onto something which is inherently aser, not because of your words? And bechor is such a case, and one says yes, one says not. But the Gemara says, the Gemara continues with this drasha. Oman the shari, the one who says that it's mutter because he dashes it from ki yidor. What does he do with the word la Hashem? This man said la Hashem means even if it's a davar aser, not a davar hanodo. But the one who says it's mutter, what is he going to do with the word la Hashem? La Hashem ayavadlei miboilei lematves b'chatas v'Hashem. He's going to say that I'm asking that if you did seize on to a korban, that this should be like a korban. This piece of bread should be like a korban chatas. It should be like a korban asham. Then it does take effect. Why is it better? Why is a korban chatas and asham better? Because you said so. You verbalized it. Why do you see to include a korban chatas and asham that it does take effect and a bechor does not take effect? That's what we're talking about the whole time. That the chatas and asham you created. You said. It wasn't a chatas until you say so. You have to verbally consecrate it. So the chatas and asham that you verbally consecrated, that's called never another. But the bechor, which is kadosh mimei imo, that is holy as soon as it's born, or maybe even inside the stomach of the mother. So then it's already inherently asar. It's not that you made it. And the manda asar, bechor nami matfisa. Manda asar. This is more kasha.
I'm sorry. The chatas and the asham.
How does it become a chatas and asham?
He had to do something
to
bring a guilt.
Oh, you're saying he has to have done an avera. The Gemara doesn't go into that point, but even if he did an avera,
he's the one that makes it an asham.
Right, yeah.
This is going to be
right. So he verbally did it.
And that animal wasn't asur until he said it.
Right, it was a regular animal. So that's called davar another. But the bechor is from birth, from the mother. So therefore, it doesn't have to do with your words. That's not enough to be matfis benedi. You can't say the piece of bread should be like the bechor because the bechor has nothing to do with your words. It's a bechor before that. But the Gemara now says that everyone agrees to this halacha. Not the Gemara is really making shalom and saying everyone agrees to the yesod that it has to be a davar nodor, not a davar asur. If it will be an animal, we said a chazir or something which is inherently asur, everybody holds that that's not enough to make it neder. You have to have something which you verbally created. But manda asar, why? Because bechor nami matfisa b'nederu. Surprise, surprise, that even a bechor which is automatically of the firstborn because it's a firstborn by fact that it was born first, but still you're supposed to be makdash it. The Tanya, Mishum Rabbi
What
Yomu,
does it mean by netter?
it's
How
makdash
did it get seized by a netter?
that you're supposed to consecrate it. That's what the Gemara is going to say now. The Tanya,
Oh, okay.
Mishum Rabbi Yomu, they found the name of Rabbi. Menai leno lebechor shebesoch beiso shemitzvah lakdisho. How do you know? Even though it was born a bechor, it was born a bechor.
I see.
Yeah, it's a mitzvah to consecrate it and say, "Harei ze kedushas bechor." V'nema hazochar takdish. It says a pasuk takdish. We learn out you're supposed to consecrate. It's a mitzvah to consecrate it. Of course, if you didn't consecrate it, it's also going to be a bechor. But there's mitzvah to consecrate it, and that's what the Gemara says. Among the shori, the one who says that's mutter. Why? That it's not nitfas bechor because kilo makdish le'milo makdish. If you don't consecrate it, is it not kadosh? It surely is. There's a mitzvah to say harei ze kadosh. But even if you don't, it also is kadosh. So the Gemara got out of the fourth proof also, just to zoom out what happened here. The Gemara thought that it had a raya to ask a question about if you matfis beikro shal neder or bemik ikro or betereka matfis. If you said that this should be like something which right now is mutter, but once upon a time it was asa, do you mean to associate it with what was once upon a time, that is asa, or do you mean what it presently is? We tried 4 proofs. None of them work. We're left with a question. We don't know the answer to the question. The last proof just now was about like a bechor. The Gemara thought that they're arguing about this, that once upon a time it was mutter, and now it's one time it was usher, and now it's mutter. The Gemara that's all the Gemara could find that they're arguing about. And the Gemara said no, it's not the subject at all. It's somewhat a real bechor, even before the Zrikas Adam. But some say that it's not called davar another because it's inherently a bechor, not because you made it so. A different point. And the other one says no, that the Chachil you are supposed to announce that it's a bechor and harei ze kadosh, so therefore it is called a davar another. Nothing to do with our subject. That's the end of the
But there was some sort of machlokus there.
There's a machlokus.
There's
That's
a
the machlokus.
machlokus.
That's the machlokus. If a bechor, not
Is
because
it a bechor inherently, or do you have to say I'm not?
right? Everybody holds that it's a bechor inherently,
Everybody holds that it really
and everybody
is.
holds it, and everybody
But if
holds
you-
you're supposed to. Is that enough? The fact that you're supposed to be makdash it, is that enough to make it into a davar another, that your verbs, your words did something? Your words didn't really do anything, but there's a mitzvah lachatila to be makdash, and maybe that's called your words did something. But it has nothing to do with our subject, and we're left hanging. We don't know the answer. Rami Bacham asked the question: if you have something which was once upon a time usher and now became mutter, and you said it should be like that, what do you mean? We tried 4 tries. The first 3 tries were all to say that it goes according to Meikara. The first one was just let's zoom back a second. The first raya was from the case of our Mishnah, really, which was the case of what is it called again? Noser and Pigel, and that didn't work. The next question, what am I doing here? Yeah, that was the first Noser Pigel. The second raya was from the yard side case that he said that I'm asking this day like the day of the yard side. The Gemara thought that it's also a question of usher that became mutter. The third raya was from the case of Chumas Lachmi Toda. Also, the Gemara thought that it was usher and it became mutter. The Gemara pushes away all these proofs. And the last raya was Ketanoi, they're arguing about a bechor. It must be this is the machlokas, a case where it was once upon a time usher, now it's mutter. And the Gemara says no, it's another subject altogether. That a bechor is called a davar another or davar usher because it's inherently holy, but you were supposed to consecrate it. Is that enough to be called a verbal consecration or not? And the Gemara doesn't know the answer to the question, and it goes like that. We're finished with that subject.
What was the last thing? It was like you said, yeah.
The last one, Milo Mikdash, those words.
Milo mikdash.
If you didn't consecrate it, is it not holy? It surely is.
Certainly.
And everybody agrees.
Okay.
Yes, you're right, it is. But anyway, since you're supposed to consecrate it, maybe that's enough to be called a davar another. But as far as our ikka question, the Gemara left it out. The Gemara doesn't know.
Mhm.
The Mishnah continues. It says, the Mishnah a couple of pages ago, I think Yudam at base, over there it says, but someone said there should be like Imra. Imra's a sheep. Imra's Aramaic for the word sheep. Well, Kedirim, that's the pen where the sheep are for the base of Mikdash. Some say that it's the deer Eitzim, it's the woodshed, things that are holy. Over there it says that if this should be like that, all these things are saying that it's like a korban, and therefore it's also awesome. And the first thing the Gemara talks, and there's to continue the Mishnah said about Ki Yerushalayim, also it's Asa, and Machlokes said Yerushalayim. He didn't say Ki, he left out the kaf. He didn't say the prefix of the comparison. This should be like that. He doesn't say this should be that. Of course, this is not that. You take a piece of bread and say this is Yerushalayim, it's not Yerushalayim. It means it's like Yerushalayim. That's Machlokes in the Mishnah. If that's a good way to make a neder, to say this is Imra. So the Gemara comes out that there's Machlokes over there, and now it says at length that all these words, there's no difference if you said it with the chaf, without the chaf, or you did a lamed, and it does each of these examples in the Mishnah, it says all 3 possibilities. We looked at the Brisa, Tana, Imra, Li Imra, Ki Imra. both if you said the word alone without any prefix, or you did a lamed prefix, or you did a puffy prefix, it's all good. And the Gemara says it again, the Bryce says it again and again with all the examples. There's no difference if you left out the lamed and the chaf. The chaf, you just said it with a lamed or with a dal or without any prefix at all, it's good enough. So it says, we have the case about Imra. And the Bryce adds on, oh, the Mishnah says Ki'imra. Really, the Mishnah says Ki'imra. But the point is to say that not only Ki'imra, even Imra, Le'imra. And also the case of Dirim. Also, Dirim, Lidirim, Kidirim, Eitzim, Le'eitzim, Ke'eitzim, Ishim, Le'ishim, Ki'ishim. Of course, the smallest Kiddush is Ki'ishim. That's for sure good. The question is, if you didn't say the Chaf, you said with Lamed, or you said without any kind of prefix at all, and then Mizbeach, all the cases of the Mishnah, Lim Mizbeach, Kim Mizbeach, Heichel, Leichel, Keichel, Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim. All these cases says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It has 7 cases, and the Mishnah had all of them. And it just adds on that even if you don't say the Kaf, or you don't say the Lamed before, or nothing before, it's also good enough. Kulan, all these cases, Sha'ochalach Aser, Lo Ochalach Mutter. If you end it off, that this piece of bread, sheep, is a sheep that I'm going to eat of yours.
This is a quote of what he said.
Right. He said, Imra Sha'ochalach, or Yerushalayim Sha'ochalach.
Mhm.
So that's Aser, because it means to say, whatever I'm going to eat of yours should be like Yerushalayim. Should be Kadosh like Yerushalayim. I go to you invited me to your house. I don't want to eat by your house. So I say, Yerushalayim Sha'ochalach, which means anything that I would eat of yours has Kedusha Yerushalayim, or Kedusha of the korban of Yerushalayim.
Yerushalayim itself has Kedusha.
They talk about the Pshat. The Mishnah said doesn't mean Yerushalayim itself, and it talks about Yerushalayim. What means the korbanos that are brought in Yerushalayim? All these things might mean just the korbanos, the deer, the eitzim, the ishim, all of that mizbeach. But that's the first one before talk about it. Doesn't mean Yerushalayim, and Yerushalayim is holy. I'm making it holy like Yerushalayim, which was consecrated by people, or doesn't mean the korbanos of Yerushalayim. But anyway, this person said mizbeach masha ochalach. What does he mean to say? That whatever I'm going to eat of yours should be holy, like the mizbeach, or like the korbanos brought on the mizbeach. And even though he didn't say kim mizbeach, that's what it means. If he said lo ochalach mutter,
He didn't say anything.
he said what does he mean? He said Yerushalayim shelo ochalach. What does he mean to say? Whatever I'm not going to eat of yours should be like Kedusha Yerushalayim. Okay, so I can come to eat by you because I only asked the things that I'm not going to eat from you. Fine, okay. So the things that I am going to eat from you, I'm mutter. That's the brisa. First of all, we have a chiddush that you don't have to say the chaf. In our Mishnah, we have Machokis. Machokis says, according to Yehuda, if you say Yerushalayim is not good, you have to say Ki Yerushalayim. But according to the Tana Kama, it's mashma that even if you left out the kaf, it's good enough. So our Tana this brisa is according to Rabbi Meir, who's the Tana Kama of our Mishnah. Man shemina le the lo shani le imra kimra. Rabbi Meir, who's the author of our brisa that says whether it's said a kaf or not? Rabbi Meir. But there's a problem with the end. It says Ema Sefer. It says Bekulam lo ochalach mutter. All these cases, if he ended up and he said, I'm not going to eat to you, it's mutter, which we translated a second ago. What I'm not going to eat should be holy. So that's okay. What I'm not going to, but Rameir says not. But none. We had the one time we read it, we'll have it again. It says, Li korban lo ochalach. Rameir also. There's a Mishnah coming up, which we'll have soon, that if he said, Li korban lo ochalach, those are the words that he said. Rameir said that. So we had it on the chart the other day. And what does it mean to say? Because we say, the korban vom Rabbi Abba. Now Rameir can't say. There are two ways how to learn. Why it should be yasser. The korban lo ochalach. You might say that it means low carbon, low ochalach. You might say that's a pshat. Whatever I'm not going to eat of yours should not be a carbon. And if you hold that you can make implication, that means what I'm not going to eat should not be a carbon. What I do eat should be a carbon. That would be a possible pshat. But Rameir doesn't hold like that. Rameir holds, you don't say so how come Rameir holds that as asa? So Rabbi Abba explained, Rabbi Meir is going to read that when it says lekorban, it doesn't mean low korban. It means lekorban. And when he says lekorban lo ochalach, what does he mean to say? Not that what I'm not going to eat should be a korban, but it should be for a korban. It should be like a korban, and therefore I'm not going to eat it. So if Rabbi Meir holds like that, so we don't understand. In these cases, when he said all these words, Imra, Dirim, all these cases, and he ended off and he said lo ochalach, where's that over here? Lo ochalach. So why say mutter? The Meir is the author of the Tana of this brisa, and the Meir holds that if he said the korban lo ochalach, it is also, because he means to say it should be a korban, and therefore lo ochalach, not that which I'm not going to eat is a korban. That I'm not going to eat yours, the korban heavy. Yerushalayim Yehei, and therefore lo ochalach. So how come the Brisa says mutter? A contradiction in Rav Meir. Lo kasha, Adamar lo leimra, Adamar leimra, lo imra. Means all these cases we said is difference if he said lo or not. If he said le korban, we said it means le korban, and therefore lo ochalach. That's what Meir will say. Rav Meir's statement over here, yeah. Rav Meir's statement le korban lo ochalach. He says it should be a korban, and therefore lo ochalach. What if he said beferish low korban? If he said beferish low korban, lo ochalach. Over there, there's no way Meir is going to say that it's asa, because he doesn't say it's not a korban, therefore I'm not going to eat, because not a korban is the reason why I could eat. Elam, are you going to say, you read it in one sentence, in one breath, that what I'm not going to eat is not a korban, and you could deduce what I am going to eat is a korban, but the Meir doesn't deduce. The Meir holds you don't say, so that's what the Brisa means. The Brisa doesn't read so well, according to this, but it doesn't mean all these cases, if you say lo ochalach is mutter. It means if you would say beferish, lo imra, low, not on the case of imra, only low, the low imra. If you said low imra, low dirim, low eitzim, low mizbeh, low Yerushalayim, so then you could translate that it's, how does it go? When is it going to be? That's going to be mutter because you said beferish that it's not holy, and you can't ask a kasha that maybe it means to say what I'm not going to eat is not holy, and deduce what I am going to eat is holy, because the Meir holds you don't say. So the main point we got out of this Brisa was that you don't have to have a cuff, which is Rav Meir's opinion that we know. Also, we have Rav Meir's opinion that says you don't say which I'm focused about that. And there is also an issue here that Rav Meir, which we had already, is going to have it again, that if you say l'korban ochalach, Rav Meir is going to translate it not what I'm not going to eat is holy, but it's holy, and therefore I'm not going to eat. That was Rav Meir's opinion over there also. So if that's good, we go on to the next Mishnah. Everybody's good? The Mishnah starts. Ha'omer, korban, kama, ola, kama, mincha, kama, chatas, kama, toda, kama, shlamim, kama. All these cases said that this should be holy, shani yochalach. That which I'm going to eat should be korban, should be ola. He didn't say ki korban. That's again the same issue we had before about ki Yerushalayim. So for some reason the Mishnah says it again. I don't know why it repeats the same achlokas. Before it spoke about Yerushalayim, and now it speaks about other things, and he didn't say cup. He didn't say ki korban, ki ola, ki mincha, ki chatas, ki chotodik, ki shlam. He just said the word. So Tanakama says it's asa. Same as I've made before that says you don't have to have a cup. Even without the cup, it also means that. Rav Yehuda Matir, because he also have to have the cup. And that was a machlokas already before. And it's mentioned again. I don't know why it's repeated. And we'll put here, end of that Mishnah. The Mishnah continues. Ha korban, ki korban, korban, shochalach, asa. Again, put a dot over here. That's another Mishnah. What did it say about that? Any one of these three words. That which I'm going to eat of yours, ha korban, or ki korban, or korban. So what do we get out of this? So ki korban for sure. Ki korban shochalach. That's not a question. That's not a question. And korban shochalach, we just had a machlokas about that case. That Tanakama says that korban shochalach is asa. Abida says no, you didn't say ki korban. So we know that already also. And we knew even as machlokas. He had only brings down the mandamar that says that it's asa. Okay, but the question is, the ha korban is going to be a chiddush. That the Gemara is going to talk about. They say ha korban shochalach. Thank you. That the Gemara is going to have a chiddush. We'll talk about that soon. But it is a bit strange that the Mishnah first spoke about the exact case and instead of machlokas, and then it says the case of ki korban, which everybody agrees to, that is asa, and korban, which is a machlokas, and there's a kasha why the Mishnah says these two cases. It would have been simpler just to talk about ha korban. The first Mishnah spoke about without a cup, and then it's when he speaks about ha korban. That would be simpler. I don't know why the Mishnah does put in ki korban. That is difficult. And then the next case is li korban lo ochalach. How about if you said alamet li korban lo ochalach? This is the one we had about 3 times already. That your Meir says that it's also because you make a comma. The korban, it's going to be holy like a korban, and therefore I'm not going to eat from you. You might have read it that what I don't eat is going to be a korban. That wouldn't affect it. What I am going to eat is mutter. But your Meir makes a comma, the korban, and therefore lo ochalach. You might have said that it's also because what I don't need should be low korban. You might have learned that also. There is a possibility to say what I don't eat is not going to be a korban, and what I do, it is going to be a korban. But the mayor doesn't hold it. You can't do that in the Mishnah because the mayor holds you don't say it must be that it means to say it should be a korban, and therefore I'm not going to eat. So we have three Mishnahs more or less in this Mishnah, and the Gemara talks about the hot korban case. This case of hot korban, that's what the Gemara is going to be discussing. What's going to be with hot korban? Not the case of kik korban, the case of hot korban. If I can get it by itself. Okay, that's going to be the case. Then it says hot korban, and it says asa korban she'ochalach asa. So the Gemara starts katani korban hot korban kik korban she'ochalach asa, which doesn't have a, what do we have here? It doesn't have a cup. That's the point, that it doesn't have a cup and it's good enough. Stama Tana Kirabbi Meir. Okay, that's the point in itself. I would make that's the point. The fact that not that it doesn't say something about the hot korban, but the fact that it doesn't have a cup. Not only korban is asa, even hot korban or korban also is asa. And you don't need a cup, and that's your mayor, and that's good. The Mar's a kasha that is still not good. In our text it says a mayor makes sound like it's a kasha only because it's your mayor. And the Gemara doesn't seem to say that. So I didn't check the gears. It's in brackets over here. I don't know. But kasha seems to be a new kasha now. Even if it's your mayor, there's still a problem. The hot korban should not be aser. Tiktani hot korban sha'ochalach aser v'tanya modem chacham Rabbi Yehuda ba'omer hot korban. Here's it. It sounds like hot korban. The Gemara makes it says if he says hot korban or ha'ola or ha'mincha or ha'chatas she'ochalach she'muter shelo nadar zeh elo b'chayi korban. If he says hot korban, which means this korban that I'm going to eat of yours, it's still mutter. Everyone agrees, even though the Machlokas of Meir and Yehuda, but everybody agrees that if he said hot korban she'ochalach is mutter, and why is that? Why is if he says hot korban she'ochalach is mutter? Because shelanada zeh el b'chayi korban. These words don't mean that I'm making it like a korban. These words mean I swear by the life of the korban, like by the life of this animal, by the life of this korban, I swear that I'm going to eat from you. It doesn't mean that I'm making it holy like a korban. It means I swear by the life of the korban. So that's the Morris Kasha. How come you say in our Mishnah that if it said that's not who the author is? Says everybody agrees. That's why I had difficulty with this brackets here of Meir. But the Morris Kasha is in our Mishnah says how korban she'ochalach is aser. Here it says how korban she'ochalach is mutter. That's a contradiction because you only meant to say I swear by the life of the korban that I'm going to eat, not that I'm making it also.
I'm sorry, where's it called? My time or what?
My time with that is mutter by hot korban because chaye korban korban. It means by the life of the korban, which is what the Gemara said in the bottom line. On number Aleph, the bottom line said that because just turn a second back to the bottom of it said shalanada zeh el b'chaye korban. That's what the bottom line says. That's what the Gemara repeats it again. That when he says hot korban, the reason why it's put is because he swore by the life of the korban. That's what he meant to say. Next Gemara, Tatani lekorban lo-ochalach. Or Meir also. We had this a few times already. This is the place where it talks about it. This is what we quoted the whole time. The Mishnah says lekorban lo-ochalach. Or Meir also. Why is that? The Gemara first things because he meant to say low korban lo-ochalach. That which I don't eat should not be yasa. But and therefore what I do eat should be yasa. That goes back to mechlal lavat shemeyahin. Let's later Rav Meir mechlal lavat shemeyahin. You can't say that's a pshat. Because the Meir doesn't hold that. The Meir holds you don't make any deductions and implications. The korban doesn't mean low korban, it means le korban. And what does he mean to say le korban, but I'm not going to eat? He means le korban yehei, and therefore lo ochalach. That I'm making it holy like a korban, and therefore I'm not going to eat. So we got through the Mishnah. Just to go back to the Mishnah again, there were three parts. The first part of the Mishnah was if you didn't say a kaf, he does say korban or ola mincha. He didn't say kaf. Tanakam that it's also reviewed this as the mutter. Same as the Mishnah before about Yerushalayim. Second Mishnah, the main point was about hot korban. The other ones we know already. Kick korban surely works. Korban is a machlokes, but hot korban, this shit that it's also. You don't say it's like hot korban. Hot korban would have meant that it's a shvua, and over there it's mutter because he meant to swear by the life of the korban. And the last part, le korban la'ochal, so we know the reason is because he means to say le korban yehei, and therefore I'm not going to eat from you. And we have the last mission of the parak. Here it goes. This is what Moshe spoke about in the beginning of the day. Or konim yada yoseima, or konim raglev halachasima. All these cases is asa. So konim we know means a nickname for the word korban. That was the case of a kinui. Konam, konas, konach. That konam doesn't mean a neder. Konam means a korban. So it means to say that my mouth should be a korban from speaking to you. Konam pima da very much. Is that a way of we say he doesn't have a cuff? Kick konam, according to this mission holds you don't need a cuff. So konam, it needs to say my mouth is like a korban of speaking to you. My hands are a korban from working for you. My feet are a korban from going with you. All these cases it works, it becomes a neder and a sasan. And the most kash is that it has to be halal as something. And the Gemara is going to answer that the mouth is a something. And the feet, the hands, depends how we say.
They're awesome.
That's the whole Gemara in a nutshell. There are many kasha from a Mishnah, that you find some stringencies of a shvua more than a neder, and some of a neder more than a shvua. And it goes on to enumerate that a neder has a stringency that it could take effect onto a mitzvah. That if he says, let's say that the lulav should be aser, like a korban, it shouldn't be neder from it. So it could take effect. Well, let's say matzah. Okay, matzah. He says on matzah that this should become aser to me like a korban. So you can't eat the matzah because it became aser. But if he says, I swear I'm not going to eat matzah, then it doesn't take effect because nishbal matzah was a mitzvah. The mitzvah is he should eat matzah, and he made an oath he's not going to eat matzah. So that has a stringency of a neder more than a shavua, because a neder could take effect even on a mitzvah, and a shavua cannot. What does a person do if he has no matzah and he made a neder? So I have to talk about it. What does he do? But he can't eat the matzah because it became matzah with the neder. But a shavua is not halal in the first place because nishbal matzah was a mitzvah. Nishbal omed. And the opposite. That's we don't. This is extra. This is extra credit. We don't need this. In the first case, the chomer, the shvuas chalas al davar sheish b'mamish v'al shein b'mamish v'al came in nedarim. A shvua could take effect even on something which is not no substance. It says, "I swear I'm not going to speak." You could do that because he made a shvua. I'm not going to speak. But in neder, you have to answer of something. You have to say that something becomes aser. So davar sheish b'mamish, it takes effect on something, on this object. But davar shein b'mamish, and neder doesn't take effect. So how could you say that I'm answering my speech on you? The answer is, I'm Rav Yehuda ba'omer yaseh pi v'diburi yadi v'masayim ragli raglai v'hiluchan, that he answers his mouth. Depends how he says it. If he just answers speech is in b'mamish. But if he answers his mouth, that's ish b'mamish, and therefore it takes effect. That's what the Mishnah says. I'm answering my mouth. If you would have said I'm answering that I'm going to speak, it means I'm answering the speech. Then you're right. It does not take effect because it's davar shein bo mamish. The reason the Mishnah says also because he said I'm answering my mouth, I'm answering my hands, I'm answering my feet. That's why it takes effect. That should go out, everybody. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
So we're gonna make
Adonai lecha kol.
tomorrow night.